Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Common Sense Warriors. My name is Reiner.
And I'm Lyle.
And Lyle is going to introduce our guest today.
Well, I am super excited for our guest today. Our guest today is Corrine Ropp of U Academy. And Corrine is a what is your title?
It's called Clinical Hypnotherapist.
Clinical Hypnotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
So by the end of it, if we say that we don't believe in hypnotherapy, that apparently we're going to start clucking like chickens, or is that?
I can't wait.
We are not doing any of that. Okay. That's about level 1, so we're going to go to level 4. We're not going to level 1.
You can tell our mentality because level 1 sounds way more fun.
We're gonna try and make this as fun as possible. And Corrine, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is great.
So we'll just get started. Why don't you, Corrine? I know I've known you for a couple of years now. You have an amazing story. So
I do.
Why don't you tell us about your story?
Which one would you like?
Well, how in the heck did you become a hypnotherapist?
Yeah. So that would be back in 1992. When I was first hypnotized. I was going through some pretty stressful things in my life. My 20s were filled with all kinds of stress, from a murder trial to parents getting a divorce to money issues, all kinds of different things. And I tried alcohol, and I did that really well, but it wasn't really effective.
It's effective for some days.
It was effective for a little bit.
Yeah.
However, it also got me into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So I went to a hypnotherapist in New Westminster.
Okay.
And that was the lifeline, really, for me. It allowed me to become calm so that I could actually make decisions, so that I could raise my 3 kids, so that I could actually get into a level of normal. Mm-hmm. Because at that point, my stress level was so high, I'd actually hypnotized myself into a state of fear. I thought everything and everyone was against me, which that might have been the truth, mm-hmm. but I didn't need to live my life that way. What? So that was my first introduction to hypnosis. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Allowed me to do my job, raise my kids, go through the different processes that I needed to go through a lot easier than without medication or those kinds of things.
And I find, and you said the word fear, mm-hmm. Our society, U.S. society, Canada is becoming more and more fearful.
For sure.
Our neighbors to the south are very fearful. They're afraid of their own shadows, and that's why they have such a big military force and that type of thing. But I think that's a societal thing, is we're all being trained into becoming afraid.
Well, talking about fear, there's fear on one side of the spectrum, and then on the other side of the spectrum is love. And so we can't have fear and love at the same time. So if we're in fear, we're not in love. So that's an interesting process as well. Fear creates the fight or flight. Fight or flight is your anxiety and your depression.
Right.
And so we live in an age of anxiety, because anxiety starts first. And anxiety is really, if you catch it at the time that it starts, is unnecessary.
Right.
And so we can actually, with using hypnosis, like I did in 1992, release that anxiety, release that fear, and then take control of my own life.
Okay.
Because that really is the point. It's about empowering you to take control of your own life, to get your own answers, because you have your answers.
Right.
I don't. It's an interesting process. So hypnosis, at that time, you had to have 2 degrees. You needed to be a doctor in order to practice hypnosis. So I thought, but even back then I knew that I would have something to do with hypnosis. And in 1999, that's when the doctors, it became, the lay person could actually practice and study hypnosis at that point.
Okay.
And so in 2007, I quit my corporate job. I've been in sales my entire life, which hypnosis is a bit of sales, just in case you're wondering. Well, you'll get to that in a minute.
I think there's sales in everything.
There should be.
There's sales in everything that we do out there.
Yeah.
Even marriage is a sales process.
Well, you got to sell your wife on marriage.
For sure, and the problem we have divorce.
well, maybe you had to.
I had to. My husband had to.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I quit corporate,
yeah,
and I'd worked as a life coach for 6 years at that point.
Okay.
And so I worked in the personal development industry where I would put classes together and help people achieve some pretty amazing things. But the one thing that I was a little bit distraught about is anybody can do something for 90 days. And what I noticed, the pattern that started to happen, I mean, I did 13 90-day programs where I was the coach. I noticed that people would go back to where they were. Even 10% or sometimes 100%. But that staying changed was difficult. So I thought, well, okay, so how do we get people to change for real? Because it's not about, I'm going to have just one thing and I'm going to lose weight and then I'm going to gain it all back in the next 6 months. That's very frustrating for people. Anyway, so hypnosis, I actually, when I quit my job, I went to LA. I took a class called Master of Influence by T. Harv Eker.
Okay.
And there was a hypnotist there. I didn't know he was a hypnotist. I bought all his stuff, and that was Joel Bauer. And he's been in Vancouver a couple of times. He's the reason, really, why I'm a hypnotherapist.
Okay.
Like, he was the one that actually made it so I wanted to do that, to really, really do that. It's pretty phenomenal.
So you said in the 90s that you were so stressed out.
Yeah, that hypnosis, yes.
And how did you get into hypnosis? Like, was it your doctor that referred you in?
It's actually one of my clients.
Oh.
One of my clients said, you need to go see this guy. He's helped her husband was going through severe stress and was a pilot. So he couldn't take medication, those kinds of things. So he went to see a hypnotist.
Huh.
And that's how...
And what were you doing at the time?
At the time, I was working with my dad's business.
Okay.
So it was a feed store in Langley.
Oh.
It's a local
right?
thing, yeah.
Yeah. So your dad owned the business and you worked with your dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's family business. We grew up in the family business.
Okay. Yeah, so you're from Abbotsford or Langley region. Okay.
Yeah, I was born in Abbotsford.
Fraser Valley girl.
I am.
Fantastic. And you had mentioned that you were under, the amount of stress that you were under, there was and you used alcohol to try and kind of deal with it. Obviously not anymore, which is awesome. And hypnotherapy helped you get through the alcohol using it as a crutch? Or
yes, actually, for sure. So the alcohol part, I mean, I drank for 2 years. So I had a really short alcoholic career. But
Amateur.
keep in mind, I was
Amateur.
No, I was really good at it.
I'm sure you were.
I did everything in excellence. I tried to do everything in excellence, that included. And so I remember being December 31st, and you always remember the last time you drank.
Yeah.
And I went to AA, and they did support me with that, but it was hypnosis as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the combination of those two really have supported. I mean, it's 21 years now that I haven't had a drink.
Good for you.
So
and no thoughts of trying to ruin that string. Okay, good.
No,
good.
it's just not. I can go into a bar. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just, I can have a root beer in my glass and people think I'm drinking, and I can act as drunk as anyone.
But the funniest part about not drinking, and neither of us drink either, although I was a professional.
Me too, yeah.
But I became a professional after long term.
Yes.
But the funniest part I find is when I do go to pubs and I have booze in the house. Mm-hmm. But when I go to a pub and you having a drink, it's like, oh no thanks, I don't drink. Oh, can I drink around? I'm like,
I know.
Did I say I'm some kind of no?
Do I have a disease
because I choose not to drink. All of a sudden, you're going to change your behavior. Why?
In their defense, though, there are a lot of people that can't handle.
I get it.
In the position because they, and I don't know what it is about some people that do that. Whereas they know that it triggers them, they know that it bothers them, but they still put themselves in that position.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, they just want to be the victim all, and I think that's a societal thing. Again, fear, victimization. We've taken all of the empowerment away, and I think that's what really hypnosis does. Is it empowers you to make the decisions that you want to make. Hypnotherapy can help you break down the ego. And I'm writing a book on finance right now, and the biggest thing with finance is dealing with their ego and dealing with the ego that's there to try and protect them. Can you talk on ego? Because ego is like the biggest it's a part of us, and we're going to get into Freudian stuff and that type of thing. But I really do
We're not
believe-
going to get into a lot of Freudian
Okay.
stuff because Freud, there's some of the things that very smart guy.
Yeah.
But there were some things that are no longer applicable.
Yeah, he's a little bit out there.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Out there's fine.
Well,
So when it comes to finance, you learn your finance. 80% of you is put in place by the time you're 8 years old. So your belief systems around money, around relationships, around how to deal with different situations is put in place by 8 years old. So
80% of it's by 8 years old.
80%.
Okay, and that's
80% across the board. I mean, there was a book written a couple of years ago, probably 10 years ago. Everything I need to know I learned in kindergarten.
yeah.
And that is so true. It's very applicable.
Mhm.
I mean, children, they know exactly what's going on. They know more than adults because they're not blocked. So when it comes to our belief systems with money and with finances, it's an energy. Money is energy. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Mhm.
So the more that you have a belief that it's available to you and that you can actually receive it, the better you will receive it. If you have a belief that, I can remember the first time I made $100,000. The first time I had a $100,000 job. I sat on my balcony and I went, well, that's not going to last long. Seriously, and it didn't.
And it didn't.
Absolutely.
So-
The company went, they closed that division within a year and a half. So, it's interesting. We become our own self-fulfilling prophecy when it comes to finance, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to just different things that go on in our life. So
Yeah.
it's about how do we change the hardwire? Because everything's hardwired. By the time you're 8 years old, just think about there's no protection of the subconscious mind. So everything goes into the subconscious mind between the ages of 0 and 8.
Okay.
So if that's true, children accept everything as true.
Mhm.
They don't, there's no, you told me that the sky's purple? Okay, the sky's purple. Something kind of happens though around the age of 8. And that's when we start to get that protection and that logic and reason starts to come in and that egoic part starts to come into play. And so then we have this thought process and we think thinking is so important.
Okay.
I'm going to suggest it's not. And here's what it's good for. Data. That's what it's good for. Because what happens is a thought comes in, the subconscious sends a response. It's an automatic response. We live in a world where people simply respond
Yeah.
or react. So they get triggered, something happens, and it's an automatic response, and that comes from the subconscious mind.
So is that overstimulation too? As like people are just overstimulated?
Oh,
and they just
people are
react?
overstimulated for sure, and there's
Yeah.
no quiet time. People don't take that 5 minutes in the morning to just breathe,
Yeah.
or to just relax, or just to be calm. They are always, and it's a very busy society, especially Vancouver. I mean, just take a look at your traffic in the morning.
Yeah.
That's what people are dealing with first thing in the morning. It's crazy.
My first thing in the morning forces me to have about 5 minutes of quiet time because my dog will lay on his back and he'll expect his 5-minute belly rub.
Oh, nice.
And that's just one of the dogs. And he insists on that. And he's big enough
Yeah.
that when he insists, yes,
You
sir.
just go ahead and
Yeah.
do
My
that.
little, my
Entertain
little
that part.
yappy dog does the same thing.
Yeah.
She has to have her routine and
Well, they're very routine.
they,
Yeah.
they love it. Yeah.
But quiet time is important. I also take because I'm up a lot at night and I do a lot of stuff that I do at night. And in the daytime, I take a 20-minute to a half-hour nap every single day.
Yeah.
A day does not go by that where I don't nap. And I got to tell you, when I started doing that, life changed. Like
For sure.
it seriously changed. It clarified everything. We used to be sluggish at thinking in the afternoon because, I up late at night and then getting up in the morning to do stuff and just a 20-minute nap, even if you don't fall asleep, doesn't matter.
Just take the
Close your eyes.
and-
Close your eyes.
and breathe.
And breathe. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. That actually, like even taking 3 deep breaths,
Mm-hmm.
it absolutely is a signal to your body to simply relax.
Exactly.
A lot of people make decisions completely stressed out and without oxygen, which is just an interesting thing. Because you just think about what do people do when they get scared? They go like this,
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
they're not breathing, and then they have to make a response without oxygen going through their system. I mean, there is oxygen, but you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's like that is the same thing that happens with your mind. Something happens, you get triggered, and you're going, I don't even know why I just did the same thing that I did a year ago, and I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And you're not even aware of it until about the third or fourth or 10th or 15th time, depending on how
You just go on autopilot.
how aware you are.
Yeah, you just go on autopilot.
It is autopilot.
Yeah.
And hindsight's 2020. But hypnosis, what it does is it allows you to become aware of what is actually going on. So it allows your awareness to go from maybe a 2 to an 8, and 10 being really high. So that becomes really important. Because in today's society, I mean, we were talking about recession and that kind of thing earlier. If you had no awareness that was even possible and you got blindsided by a recession, and this was an important thing for you, the only reason you get blindsided is because your awareness was at 2.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As opposed to you would get the different hints or different things that were coming down the pike, and you would see the patterns because everything is a pattern.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to see it. So awareness is key.
So when you go through your hypnosis and you break down the walls of whatever is fear.
That's the number one thing.
So
breaking down the walls of fear and actually relaxing. You just simply receive the information that you need that allows you to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds kind of kooky.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds a little bit out there. It really isn't as out there as you think. Just practice taking 3 deep breaths and actually being aware of what's going on around you for one day, and you'll see it. Mm-hmm. It's really not that difficult.
Yeah. I mean, if hypnosis can eliminate just one little part of something we already talked about, and that's self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
If it can just eliminate that one little thing, the idea that if your mind can give you the opportunity to like quit smoking or whatever it is, succeed, however it is, without that constant doubt, that would be massive. That'd be huge.
Because what happens is the conscious mind and the subconscious mind at that point have the same conversation, and the subconscious mind will literally hunt the answer, the solution, and that solution just appears. And you kind of think it's like magic, but it really isn't magic. That's what your awareness is now trained to actually. You told it that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And people think, oh, well, is that true or not true? Test it.
Yep.
That's the thing. That's the wonderful thing about hypnosis. It's a science and it's an art.
Right.
So it's the combination of science and art. So the science part is how we get you into hypnosis. So we started this conversation about anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so anxiety, we're in this age of anxiety, age of stimulation. In the first session, in a hypnosis session, we literally put you deep into a hypnosis session and then pull you out of hypnosis. So if you are in a hypnotic state of fear, we're actually going to put you in and then take you out. So that your level of normal now becomes manageable.
Right.
It's a much different level of normal. So that's the first session. That's just session 1.
I haven't attained any level of normal, so I don't know.
Okay, so just think about people who are in anxiety, even the listeners. You take a look at your level of normal today. And if you are a person that is in anxiety, you take a look at what your level of normal was 20 years ago, it's going to be very different.
Yeah.
And probably better 20 years ago than it is today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So a lot of people who are feeling anxiety today, it just decreases their energy, decreases the way that they think, decreases their whole focus of life.
Right.
And then they think, oh, I'd like to be like I was 20 years ago. So what we do is we put them into this hypnotic state that allows them to go back to feeling the way that they were 20 years ago or even 10 years ago.
So what is the actual definition of a hypnotic state?
A hypnotic state. Well, it's a relaxed state, first of all. There's lots of definitions, and nobody has ever come up with one definition that is absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
So it is across the board. It's a relaxed state. It's a state where you simply go into that subconscious part where you can make things happen in the subconscious part while the conscious mind just goes over here.
Right.
Like it gets put aside, if it were. That's probably the easiest way to, like I said, it's not, people have debated this for centuries, really.
So you're kind of relaxed enough to be able to take suggestions?
Really, that's it. Yeah.
You know?
And to
Yeah.
refocus and just kind
And
of...
to bring out the memories of whatever that's in the subconscious mind.
Yeah,
And it's a focused attention for sure.
So and you had mentioned earlier that you were stressed out and in a constant state of stress, and you dealt with it by using
Alcohol, yeah.
You also, and people are going to be like, did I hear right? Did I hear a murder trial? Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
So
at the time, my sister-in-law had gone missing, and she, nobody knew where she was. And so my brother and her were separated at the time. And so she was the daughter of a RCMP officer. So, of course, we know what happens when that happens. So anyway, my brother was, in essence, 4 years later, convicted of her murder. So we had police around us all the time. We were having death threats from the other side. It was a pretty stressful time. And also the identification of being the sister of a convicted murderer was also very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole thing about defending and going through that process, all of that together was very disheartening, but also, I mean, I was a person of justice too. I wanted to have, justice was important.
Well, of course, most people want justice
For
to be
sure.
served. Like, we don't want to live in a land of no laws and laws.
For sure, because we're not that, we were like that herd type of mentality,
Yeah.
and that definitely doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so going through that process was very, very stressful.
Yeah.
And hypnosis was what pulled me out of that stress, being able, because I had 3 kids to look after too.
Wow.
So it was, and no money and so many different things. It was like excuse the language, shitstorm.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way to describe it. And so anyway.
And I think most people that would be in that position would probably just would call it a downward spiral. You call it just an endless cycle of, like you said, a shitstorm. And
Well, you have choices at that point. Like the choices.
And I think everybody has choices.
For sure.
And we were talking about it earlier, like people that want support, and you go into support groups, and then you end up, say, for a divorce support group, and you go to the divorce support group, and then you're with a bunch of other people that got divorced. Well, the commonality is that you're all divorced, but you're also probably all very vulnerable, raw, angry, frustrated, all of those different kinds of things. And now you're putting them all in one place.
Right.
And what inevitably happens out of that? It doesn't usually end.
Well, it depends on the leader of the group.
I guess, yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
where it gets channeled and where the energy gets channeled at that point.
Right.
For me, it was would be really easy to go victim to all of the justice system and whatever. And it became pretty clear to me that using hypnosis allowed me to come out of that victim role, allowed me to do what I needed to do, which was support my family, period.
Right.
And so that became the whole essence of everything that I did, was I simply needed to support my family going through this process.
Yeah.
And that has been, and being the advocate of the family. So that has been my life since that started. And some people go, well, that's a long time. I said, it is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you figure out that this is part of the life purpose, this is what part of why these people are in your life, that's your job.
Did you have like a moment, like an aha moment?
Yeah.
Okay, what
I did.
happened?
Well, it was just, I had done a hypnosis session. It was in this beautiful state of relaxation. And, it's interesting when we just see, you go, I always tell my students to do one thing. When you're 84 years old and you're looking back at your life, what are you most proud of? So I'd actually gone to 80 years old. And I think about it now going, man, that's not that far away now. Look pretty good for 80, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted my life to be about family. And that was the deciding moment.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, so I definitely am going to make sure that I have great relationships with my children, first of all. and with my brothers too, as much as I could, and with my family, because I have 4 brothers. So, having relationships with them is an interesting process.
I'm sure.
Being the only girl.
I'm sure.
So that became the aha moment, the deciding moment, is that my life was not about, first of all, making money and riding the corporate storm and doing all of that. That was not important to me. What was important to me was that at 80 years old, my family was around me. And so everything I do today goes to that. And it's not that I don't like making money, because I do. I think that's a wonderful game.
Yeah.
Because money is a game.
Yep.
It's an energy game. And I said, okay, let's see how much money we can make. When I became a hypnotherapist, it cost me $3,600 to become a hypnotherapist.
That's a lot of money.
It was a lot of money.
Still is a lot of money.
And it's the same price. I mean, pretty close. I think it's $3,900 now to become...
Inflation.
Yeah. So I wanted to see how fast I could get my money back.
Oh.
So that to me was a game. And I did it in 3 weeks. So I got my money back in 3 weeks. So I paid for my course by having client work. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
So money has always been a game.
Huh.
Thought process.
Yeah, I guess it's how you think about it.
So how you think about it.
And that's you just retraining your brain on how to think about things.
For sure.
And in my world, like, money is a huge stress for most people. Like, most people are completely stressed out about money, finances, when's the next bill going to get paid. And then there's people that have no money and are completely blissfully happy.
Yeah.
And there's people that have a ton of money and they're still miserable. They're even more grumpy than most people.
Yeah, because they're now working to protect their money.
Right.
And they think everybody is trying to get their money.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I have several friends that are like that.
A new state of paranoia.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're replacing one paranoia with another.
With
right?
another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just you're always fighting that victim mentality, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Okay, so then that goes back. You said fear is the opposite of love.
Yes.
So if you just look at your life and you say, okay, well, what do I love? And you say, okay, that's the focus of your life. Rather than living your life in fear, you got to retrain your brain and think about what do you love? What do you love to do? And then do it.
And the easiest way to get into that state of love is to simply get quiet. Like, really, get quiet. Take 3 deep breaths. Close your eyes. Get the distractions out.
Mm-hmm.
Take 3 deep breaths and just go, what am I grateful for? What do I love? And if you did that every morning, your day starts out so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And then you at least have the energy to deal with what's going on. So often we start out stressed, we get even more stressed, and then we worry about things that are never going to happen. And then when something does happen, we have no energy.
And then we worry about
what actually does happen.
And then we worry about what that stress is going to do to our health.
Oh yeah, for sure, right?
And now you're compounding it.
And now you're spinning.
Exactly.
And so hypnosis, that first session that we do at New Leaf, and we do my private sessions in Coquitlam, that first session is so important to get you out of that spin. Because that spin is what causes so much damage to you, as not only mentally and emotionally, but physically.
Right.
Well, and it stresses. Yeah, like stress releases
95% of disease related.
Hormones
stress.
are released from stress hormones, and then what do they do with your stress? Like, they just try and regulate it with chemicals and
let's give you some cortisol stuff that stops your cortisol from. That doesn't work.
Yeah. Or then you self-medicate.
Yes.
And like, alcohol works really well at this, or
no, it doesn't.
Drugs work really well at getting rid of all these feelings I'm having, all these sad, nasty feelings that we're dealing with.
Well, they get rid of the caring about those feelings.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't get rid of the feeling, but
at the moment, but not for any long term, for sure. And it doesn't actually get to the root cause. So once we've done that first session, and sometimes it takes 2 sessions, sometimes it takes 4 sessions, depending on the severity of the stress.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it with people for 6 sessions where it took that long. They've been stressed out for so long that we needed to get them like super grounded, super relaxed, and getting to the level of some type of normal.
Yeah.
So they could actually function. And then after that, in hypnosis, we can then go to the root cause. And that's the beauty about the advanced work that we do in hypnosis. It's getting to that root cause and solving it. And some people don't even know what the root cause of it is. So we'll start with something like anger. They get angry every time, I don't know, whatever, just anger shows up.
Yeah.
So what we'll do in a case like that is we'll start here and then we'll go all the way back to the first time that anger showed up. And it might actually be pain, and it might be disappointment. We had one gentleman, he was 49 years old. He had a person with his father. He had this block between him and his dad. And he's 49 years old and now his father's dying. And it's like, I need to figure out what this is. And what it ended up being, he actually went through the birth canal in hypnosis. That was really freaky for me. That was the first time that ever happened. It's happened several times since. And I thought he was going to have a heart attack on my chair, to be honest. I thought, oh no.
I don't blame him.
But anyway, when he was born,
Yeah.
and the first thing his dad said was, oh, he's a wee one. He ain't going to amount to much. He had just been to the pub with his friend.
Oh, boy.
His mom is 100 pounds soaking wet. Here's this like 5-pound baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so that comes out of his mouth, and all of a sudden that whole energy of disappointment is now implanted as a neural pathway and a belief system. Once we cleared that, so we just reframed it. You can't get rid of the memory, but you can pull the emotion out. And so he had a great relationship with his father.
After that,
yeah. Because he was able to clear it. That was something he didn't know even happened. And he went to his mom and said, okay, so did this happen when I was born? She goes, yeah, he said something like that. So it wasn't trauma.
Yeah.
So most people think, oh, well, I was abused or I was this or that. A lot of times it's not.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's a comment that somebody made that you just made a decision about yourself that was contrary to what is true.
Right.
And so once we pull the emotion out of that, all of a sudden the anger disappears. I had one lady, she had a weight issue. And what it came down to, she went in utero. That was really interesting. And at 4 months pregnant, her mom and dad were fighting so badly that she didn't eat. And she knew that she wasn't getting the nutrition in utero, which was very fascinating.
Interesting.
So she felt she wasn't good enough. I'm not even good enough to have food.
Wow.
So then now, as an adult, she had a weight issue.
Yeah.
All because of that. So that was very interesting. So reframing it and letting that go.
Right.
Quite fascinating.
It's just crazy what we do to ourselves, I think. Like,
Yeah.
we do this to ourselves as a society, and community is rapidly going the way of the dodo bird, sadly.
Not all of it.
Not all of it,
The
but
way of the dodo bird, but
the supporting part of community is I find lacking.
yeah.
Like that's the thing. There's not a lot of support for people that are having problems like that. But then I think we do it to ourselves. Like,
for sure.
Honestly, we do it to ourselves, and we put these self-limiting beliefs on ourselves, and just because I think
we're given
it
them,
is, right?
Because really we're a regurgitation of our parents, and it's not to blame parents and go victim to them. But what they did, you'll notice that you do. And
Right.
they do what their parents did, and they do what their parents. So there's generations of belief systems and generations of things that just keep getting repeated from generation to generation. And we try to make things better, of course, because that's what we inherently do as human beings. However, that default is still there.
Mm-hmm.
The default will always take over.
Mm-hmm.
In times of stress, in times of trauma, the default will always prevail.
Mm-hmm.
You won't think yourself through that. And so hypnosis allows you to figure out what is the default and then change it and pull the emotion out of the default so that you can live your life in a way that allows you to be aware of what is going on in truth in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because truthfully, if you don't understand it, this is what your brain does. It makes shit up. That's what it does. So it doesn't understand completely everything. It'll just fill in the blanks. That's how your subconscious mind works, and that's how your mind works.
Wow.
And so you want to make sure that it's not making up stuff that's not even going to support you. You want to make sure if it's going to make something up, let's make it great.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not make it bad. Let's make it awesome.
Subconscious mind to me seems to be a bit of a jerk. Because it cherry picks the things that you would rather have it not pay attention to, and it just seems
I think it's your conscious mind that overrules that, isn't it? Like
it might, but I think your subconscious pays attention to some of the things, and we talked about we talk about things like to go extreme. Let's say you're going somewhere and you should be envisioning a parking spot right in front of the door. Positive thinking and all this stuff. And in the back of your mind, in the back of your mind, you're going, this shit's not going to work. Well, sure enough, it's not going to work.
That's because that's the default,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem with affirmations too. Like
yeah.
That's and the secret was interesting because it didn't go that extra step.
Right, and it forgot to tell people that
you have to get off.
If you're gonna envision winning the lottery, you have to buy the damn ticket. And that was the funniest part. I watched it and I'm going, hey.
but you rented the video.
I did
rented?
too.
Rented?
Oh, sorry. Downloaded, whatever.
Oh, there we go.
I think the secret was open. There were still blockbusters around. So
I think there was,
yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. The subconscious is the default.
Yeah.
Your conscious mind can only do one thing at a time, and it's logic and reason. That's what it does. It's only doing what the subconscious tells it to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting process. As you start to dive into it, it's like, and logic and reason, that's 5% of your brain. And sorry, logic and reason has helped to destroy our planet, and so that's not what's going to support our planet and our communities. Logic and reason is not going to do that.
Right.
We actually have to get back into that community. We have to empower the people to actually have a choice, to have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way for them to have a voice that's true to them is for them to get their stuff out of the way so that they can actually do what's important.
And they're constantly being bombarded with what to think and what to say
Absolutely.
and what to do with our media and
Absolutely.
and social media. Oh, if you don't think this, then now if you don't vote for this person, you're now a racist. Or if you don't do this, you're now a bigot. And if you don't do this, then you're now against the environment. And if you don't do this, and it's the constant
fear.
fear.
And that's all hypnotic suggestion. And that's the scary part.
That is scary.
Here's the other part that really helps when working with a therapist, a hypnotherapist. Is that, first of all, I'm going to ask, the first thing I do is ask if I have permission to hypnotize you.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very end that I put in that no one, including me, will be able to hypnotize you without your permission. So all of a sudden, in many cases of my clients, impulse shopping is gone. They can go to the dollar store for that one thing and spend $1.
Mm-hmm.
Or go to Costco and spend $30 instead of spending $400 or $500. Not that you don't do that.
Yeah.
Because you will do that on occasion, sometimes for sure. But sometimes it's because you're just impulse shopping.
Yeah.
So most people, their account goes up because those things that they don't need, the suggestions do not work on them as easily as it would if they weren't.
And that just shows that we're all addicted to something.
We are.
Like we're addicted to shopping, we're addicted to...
Well, this is an opportunity to bring in a new version of AA, Amazon Anonymous. I think we could sell that.
Amazon Anonymous. Yeah, I went through that whole. We went through that Amazon thing, and
I've not bought anything on Amazon.
I have,
but I have.
I have not bought anything on Amazon since last night.
That's funny.
Yeah,
it's a pretty amazing when you actually break down how our human minds work and what we're constantly bombarded with and the social media and what's going on in the world right now in the media. It is a hypnotic state, and we're constantly being hypnotized into what to say, what to think, and
we're being hypnotized into that state of fear.
Yes, and then fear keeps us controlled.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the thing.
And that's why we have sheeple.
Yeah,
and that's what they call it. The sheeple part is, and that's because fear will stop us from doing anything that's not normal.
Right. Or why change anything? We've always done it this way. Why would we do anything different?
So invention.
Well, that's a typical strategy of whatever, whether it's politics or whether it's corporate, whatever.
Yeah.
The strategy is repetition.
Yes.
Keep repeating it until it sinks in. And well, that's literally hypnotic suggestion.
Absolutely.
If you're susceptible at any of those times, you're going to become more apt to listen and to
we have 50%,
go down that route.
50% of the population that is highly suggestible.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the other 50% of the population that has a lower suggestibility. So you just think you're going to get 50% when they make a suggestion, 50% will immediately go with that because their suggestion rate is higher.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a science. I mean, hypnosis now, 12,000 peer-reviewed journals in the United States with hypnosis and hypnotherapy in it. We have done the research. Hypnosis is not an alternative anymore in the United States and in the UK. Canada, we're a little bit behind, a lot behind. We're getting there though. So, for example,
I think you could say it's complementary to
yes,
any other type of therapy that's out there. It's a complementary way of looking at things. And
absolutely.
way of doing things. It's not an alternative. It's not a replacement. It'll complement whatever it is that they're doing out there.
I work with doctors all the time.
Yeah.
Because and the doctors that I work with, they're very clear that hypnosis can actually help what they're doing. I'm not trying to circumvent what they're doing. I'm trying to help them get that goal for that client.
But I think that goes with almost all of the modalities, and I'm experiencing that right now at New Leaf, because I mean I've been going for chiro and massage and acupuncture and all these different things until I brought it all to New Leaf, where they talk.
Yes.
Like Lisa's talking to Rav and they're talking to Richard and they're creating this strategy of how to fix this broken mess.
Right.
And that has become incredibly effective. And I'm actually quite surprised. Not surprised that it's working, but that it hadn't been done before. I've been going to all these different places with all these different things, and nobody would ever talk, and nobody would ever ask or communicate with the other person.
Right.
And
people's egos get in the way of.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
They think their modality is the best.
Right.
Truthfully, we need to, as professionals, work together.
Yeah.
Because it is the client's best interest that we're wanting to work on. Like, that's where we need to be. It's not my interest, it's the client's.
Right.
We had last week, we haven't really chatted about much, but we had a gentleman last week he ran a addiction rehab center. And he's in the trenches in the downtown east side with the opioid epidemic.
Right.
And we basically covered, like, with Dr. Gabor Mate and the trauma that most of these people have dealt with. And they're just masking it with opioids or other types of drugs and that type of thing. So post-traumatic stress, I'm sure, is a huge thing. And that's now the big, I don't know if it's mainstream, like we're constantly hearing it in the media, it's in the court system. Every single person has post-traumatic stress disorder in varying degrees. Some of it's probably true. Some
some of it's stuff that's made up.
Yep, like
sure.
I don't know. And it's
but
also
in the United States, hypnosis is frontline.
Right.
So that's a frontline treatment for post-traumatic IBS, Crohn's, colitis, all of these different digestive things. The frontline is hypnosis. They're now bringing hypnosis back into the OR. You'll notice last February, the doctors, 3:00 in the afternoon, that show, the doctors, they had a hypnotist and a doctor from the University of Texas do a lumpectomy.
Yeah.
The woman had no general anesthetic. It was all done in hypnosis. It was local, but not general.
Wow.
And so the recovery time was so much faster.
When I go to the dentist, I don't take freezing. I meditate.
Yes.
Similar idea. I mean,
so you hypnotize yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically what meditation is.
Because there's no. I mean, I teach a hypnobirthing class, which I teach women.
I probably won't need that.
Probably not. But it's for men and women, so it's for the couple. And so this class allows. I mean, women know how to have a baby. Let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
We have an overpopulation in our planet. For that reason, we know how.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So when there's no resistance in the body knows intuitively, instinctively what to do.
Right.
And so hypnobirthing is all about releasing the resistance in the body and just allowing the body to do what it naturally knows how to do. And that's like when you see an athlete in the zone. It's that same, there's no hesitation when they're in the zone. When a mother is in the zone with her husband or partner, it really does allow a welcoming for the baby.
Yeah.
And it creates a whole different atmosphere for that child to be born in. There's having labor is not screaming and yelling. It's simply a focus. And if there's something that needs to be done medically, then get that done. But even if you're in that zone, that will be even easier too. So if all of a sudden there is complications and you need a C-section, even that will be really easy to do.
Well, it's not hurting the method. It's not hurting anything.
No,
by
it's
getting
just
yourself into a hypnotic state. Or
for sure. It's just allowing
practicing.
your body to do what it naturally knows how to do.
I was listening, and we're gonna have to cut it here, but I'd love to have you on again to dig in a little bit more. But I was listening to. We're gonna close in a couple minutes, but I was listening to Joe Rogan, and he had Mike Tyson on. We all know who Mike Tyson is.
Yes.
And Mike Tyson was found by a gentleman in upstate New York, and he was a 12-year-old boy or a young boy. He was angry and whatever else. And they used hypnosis on Mike Tyson when he was a teenager to teach him to take all of his aggression out on his opponent in the ring. But they didn't tell him that he needed to turn it off after he was done boxing. And that is part of the problem that he got himself into. So there is it does work, and it can work very effectively, but it needs to be, the power needs to be in the right hands, I think. Like,
for sure.
It can be used for good and for evil.
It actually can be.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is you have to really be aware of what's going on. So the one point that I really wanted to bring across to everybody that's listening today is you don't have to be the victim. You don't have to be waiting for everything to happen to you. You can go out and empower yourself with the tools that are out there without medicating yourself or using self-medication to try and deal with any of the issues that are out there. And that our society is a society of fear, and we have to overcome that fear. So I think use all the tools that are available to you to get that done. And I think this is one of the greatest tools that are out there.
I have to agree. It really is the foundation of so many different modalities.
Right.
People call different things like mindful meditation, EMDR, these kinds of things. They're hypnosis. That's what they are. Hypnosis is the foundation.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to do a modality, you might as well go with the foundational part and then build from there. Using the foundation of hypnosis allows you to bring your whole state of being into a place of calm. It's like a reset. And at New Leaf, we've got some pretty good programs. We have a pain program and an anxiety program that are really inexpensive, like seriously inexpensive, that really do support in a really short period of time.
I think that you touched on anxiety a couple times, and I think that's the start of a lot of the issues that people are having in our society, is they're just in a constant state of anxiety. Like, there's always that tension or whatever that's out there. And it's a result of get rich quick, instant gratification, all these things. And if it doesn't instantly get rid of the feeling, then now you're in a state of anxiety.
Right, exactly.
You know, and that's really what the issue. So before you go, we do it's not really a secret anymore if people have watched, but we do the lightning round at the end of our sessions here. So I have a couple questions for you. Answer the questions as quickly as you can. We're going to really dig in and see what makes you tick here. So cake or pie?
What makes you tick?
Cake or pie?
Cake or pie? Cake.
Godfather or Star Wars?
Godfather.
How many hours of sleep do you need?
6.
Are women complicated?
Yes. Which is why I'm married a man. How do you like that comment?
That's a good one. I like that one.
I've been married for 32 years, so there you go.
How often is it healthy to cry?
Every day.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it depends on who you are. So if you're an emotional person, you'll cry all the time and you'll cry. Puppy commercials, if you're a physical person, you'll never cry. So it really depends on your personality.
What's your favorite carb? Bread, pasta, rice, or potatoes?
I'm not eating any carbs right now, but bread. Yeah, bread is it. Yeah.
Sandwiches, just like me. If you could ask God one question, what would it be?
Why?
That's what I said at the very beginning. It was like, why?
Yeah, Godwin question. No, I don't have any questions.
That's
on that.
why.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good one.
That was the first one.
And there is no
Yeah.
one, obviously, right? So
Yeah, there's no answer to that.
yeah, exactly. Well, Corrine, thank you so much. Where can we reach you, Corrine, if somebody wants to reach you?
So I have a website. We have an office in Coquitlam. I do one shift a week at New Leaf, so you can call New Leaf
In Abbotsford.
in Abbotsford. And then at Coquitlam, I'm on Brunette. You can get the website is youacademy.ca. So YOU stands for Your Own Uniqueness. So it's just youacademy.ca or youseminars.com.
Fantastic.
Or CorrineRopp.com. You'll find me there too.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, Corrine, for
Thanks so
coming
much for
on.
having me.
And we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I'd love to.
It was
great.
fun, and it was a pleasure to see you out here today. So thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much
All
for
right.
inviting me.